What up, everybody? This is yours truly, Rama Screen, and it's time for another collabo celebrating yet another movie's anniversary. This is now the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future Part 2, and I'm here joined by my fellow YouTuber and a familiar face, Tyler. How's it going, brother?
Hey Rama, always fun to be back on the channel talking movies with you. It's been a while actually.
That's right, but we've done this a gazillion time, so we have a rhythm, you and I.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Now, Back to the Future Part Two was released on November 22nd, 1989. So, in the upcoming November 22nd of this year, I will re-air our collabo on that day of celebration. But thanks for joining me on this talk. We're gonna discuss and dissect everything about this film as much as we could. And here's a fun fact to start. This movie was shot back to back simultaneously
Yeah,
with Part
three
3.
came out the next year, right?
What was that?
Yeah, part three came out like the next year.
That's right. And by the end of the film of Part 2, we see scenes from Part 3.
Yeah, it's very ahead of its time with stuff like that, where it's like, oh, we're just gonna show you some scenes. It's like almost like the teaser trailer, the teaser trailer to the next film at the end of the second film. If only more films did that. That seems like a Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of thing to do.
Yes, and if there were YouTubers such as yourself back then, you would have made a teaser trailer reaction of that scene
Yeah, as I'm in the theater watching it, of course.
right after you exit the theater.
Perfect timing.
Now, yeah, we okay. Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame were shot back to back, and of course, Matrix Reloaded and Revelation were shot back to back. We can name a few more. I don't have it on the top of my head right now, but it's so ambitious, right? I mean, like we don't know if Part Two was gonna do well at that time, box office wise, but they're like,
I
let's do
just
it.
don't remember that's being shot, I guess, back to back to back to back is Avatar.
That's right. Thank you.
That's like quadruple back to back to back to back. But
Could you imagine how embarrassed it would be if Avatar 2 flopped? And they're like, oh man.
that's what I'm worried about. Like, what are they gonna do if they just don't? If they don't pan out. Well, we got like three more.
Three.
But oh well.
And they're already in the can. I was like, no, we already made them.
But at least all of the Back to the Futures were pretty popular.
That's right. Now, I want to ask you, well, let me share with you first my experience. I first watched, I kid you not, I watched part two first, and then I watched the
Oh,
first
really?
movie later. Yeah, it was on television. They aired it, in Indonesia. I grew up there, and I saw the part two first. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense because it's, has the title Future in it. But then I watched the first movie. I was like, how's this the future? It's set in the past. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're going back to the future, which is the present day. Now I get it. What was your experience watching it?
I watched it when I was little. I mean, obviously, I wasn't alive when it came out because I
Of
was
course,
born
me
in
too.
'93. But it was a great. I mean, I watched both of them back to back. Well, basically back to back. They were on TV here back in the U.S. and I watched the first one. I thought it was awesome as a kid. But then you get the very thing, the stinger at the end, where it's like to be continued. Dot 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 as the credits roll, and it's like, what? No, I need to find out what happens. Fortunately, since all of them had came out by the time I was alive, I didn't have to like wait years or whatever for the follow up. I can just watch the next one. So I was just like, okay, cool. And then it was just cool seeing how they orchestrated the story where they still did futuristic stuff, but then they realized how they messed up, so they ruined their whole timeline, and then they got to go back and all that stuff. It reminded me a lot. I guess nowadays with the Flash and how the Flash destroys the timeline every week. But it's, but in this, he just destroys the timeline once and has to go and fix it.
Man, time traveling is such a bitch, man. It really is.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like why some people even do it, because it seems like in at least almost every circumstance in media, it doesn't really ever end up very well.
And that whole thing with the butterfly effect,
Yeah,
you cause ripple
horrifying.
effect. You know?
Yeah, you step on a moth or whatever in like the past, and then like you wake up in the future with like no arms or something. Like I don't know how they correlate, but they do.
Now, for a fun fact for your viewers and my viewers, and we can talk about this, of course, that the flying DeLorean in the first movie was supposed to be powered by nuclear. It was supposed to be nuclear powered, but then
Yeah,
they used a lightning bolt. And then in the second one, it was like, wow, trash as fuel. That's very
Very very futuristic.
clean energy. You know, it's like, oh, AOC of you. That's definitely cool.
Yeah, a lot of the interesting things for the future. I mean, obviously, a fair amount of them haven't come to fruition. Like the clothes. When I was rewatching it last night, and in preparation for this, I was thinking, oh, some of the stuff in the future. If only that was still like a thing. I know they did make some of those Nike self-lacing shoes. I know they made like
That's right.
versions of, but like they're very limited. But like that's still not like a big thing. And the jackets that fit to you no matter what size, like because the jacket was too big for Michael J. Fox, and then they actually presses a button or pulls a lever thing, and it actually like fits to him. Like how easy that would be for bigger people like me if like I could just make it fit to myself and I can just wear this forever. Doesn't matter. Then
Oh,
rise, and they're on Jaws 19.
yes.
They made the Jaws 19 in 2015.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, it's just funny, it's like in the one scene where Marty's kid, he's watching 6 channels at once on the big screen. I was like, that is too much. Like,
Well, here's the thing. Let's talk about that because you mentioned Nike did release power laces, or at least planning to. I mean, did you get? Were you one of the millions of people that were trying to get the power laces shoes?
I wasn't, but like
Okay.
I just figured out, well, that's cool. I mean, it wasn't like I needed a pair. Like, they don't look. I mean, they look cool, but they don't match anything I'd wear.
And for me, I hate laces. I buy shoes with little laces on, so I can just slip in and slip out. You know, that's the kind
Yeah,
of person I am.
easy for me. I just tie them really good, and then I can just slip in and out of them, or I just wear flip flops. So I don't gotta wear laces at all.
And here's the thing about the future in Back to the Future Part Two. You know, I took notes when I was rewatching the movie again last night for preparation for our conversation. Dude, the TV that you mentioned, it was all still square aspect ratio. None of them were widescreen.
Yeah, and there was I guess even in there was no like 4K or anything either, so all of the different shots didn't look that great, and they were all in one row.
Still grainy. Still, I was like, really? You think you couldn't even foresee that? There's some what other technology? Of course, the way he made the hoverboard.
Oh
Because he
yeah,
he took out the handle because it looked like a scooter that we have right now.
yeah, and apparently they don't work over water.
Oh, that's right.
Who would have thought that was their one weakness? The hoverboards don't work over water.
That's hoverboard's kryptonite, brother.
Yeah, that and they play the old school Wild West game, and
Yes.
it's kind of like foreshadowed. I mean, we still use controllers for the most part in video games, but like they did for a while have like the Xbox Kinect where you just did everything with your hands and like all this stuff like that. So because when they fixed the toy, and one of the kids was ended up being Elijah Wood of all people, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
thought that was so bizarre. Like Elijah Wood's one of the little kids, but then like he fixes it and he starts shooting the Wild West people, and it's like you got to use your hands. That's a baby still.
And that Wild Wild West game does not look anything like Red Dead Redemption. So it's like
No.
it's still like old days.
Well, it was supposed to be like a retro cafe, so I guess it was
Oh, that's right.
because they got like you walked in there and like Michael Jackson's "Beat It" was blasted, and you saw like Michael Jackson on the TV, and they got like the old school arcade and the diner setting. So I guess it was supposed to fit with the theme, and they just didn't realize that the little kids going in there.
That's true. And there's a Ronald Reagan on the screen. You're right. You're right. That's an '80s cafe.
Actor, Ronald Reagan, the actor, becomes president.
Now, I gotta pick a bone with the film. Well, not necessarily something too big a deal, but I like Jennifer in the first movie, and then it's
Uh,
like, oh, that's a different Jennifer. But of course, Elizabeth Shue went on to be this big time Oscar nominee years later. But I was
mhm.
like, I don't know, did you get thrown off a little bit by the different Jennifer?
It was a little weird. I remember it was definitely odd at first because I guess at first when I was a kid I didn't notice as much just because like I wasn't really thinking that in depth about like that character because she's not really in the part 2 that much anyways. 'Cause I
That's
remember
right.
reading up and Zemeckis and all them they were like had we known we were gonna actually make a sequel we would have not had her in the card because there's nothing for her to do.
Exactly
So
right.
that's why she spends the majority of the film's runtime like knocked unconscious, and then And then they just drop her off at her alternate 1985 home. You don't see her for like the rest of the movie.
And of course, it's not to belittle Elizabeth Shue. Just that I hate it when they recast and it's like, whoa, they look different. But
it was like that, and Crispin Glover too. They didn't like him and
yes,
the production team and Crispin Glover couldn't agree on a lot of things. So that's why the majority of the times you see George McFly, especially in like the Back to the Past scenes in 1955, he's faced away from the cameras because they had someone else in the scenes, and they also didn't like them. They didn't like agree very much, so that's why they just killed him off.
yes. Well,
They're like, okay, get rid of you. You're dead now.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I did read about that too, and he didn't agree to the payment and some of the things about George McFly, like you said. So he refused to be in the sequel, but they have to have George McFly, so they shot George McFly from the distance. We only see him like way from the distance. You don't
Yeah,
get to
like in the distance, and then like when they had when his parents came over in the future, he was upside down.
yes.
They had him upside down in prosthetics. So I thought that was so weird because I'm thinking like, why would you want to just like purposefully be upside down and just move around and like you know how much like that you're not that would hurt your head if you're just flipped upside down just going about your regular day life all the time.
They must have hired some Cirque du Soleil stand-in.
I'm nauseous. I mean, that's horrible.
The blood rushing to your head, yeah, I'd be dead.
Yeah, especially if that's like you just go about your daily life like that. That's horrible.
Here's a fun fact as well. Crispin Glover sued the film for using his likeness, and they settled it out of court for $700,000 something. And that kind of gives precedence for the Screen Actors Guild to set new rules about using actors' likeness. But yeah, that's just a fun fact for you guys. Biff, let's talk about Biff because Biff plays a bigger role in this sequel. Hello, anybody in there? Hello. Now, the old Biff comes back, and I think you can agree with me that, right? I think the reason why he goes back to time, of course, to give the sports almanac to his younger self, but then he comes back to.
You mean this?
Holy crap! You haven't? What? Okay. You got to tell me the story behind that. How'd you do it? How'd you get it?
I got it at a gift store like a point in time. Just like it was like, oh, look, really, it's a notebook. I mean, it doesn't have
Oh.
the World Cup this day. I couldn't bet on it today or anything, but it's just a fun little almanac I have in my room. I write notes in from time to time. So yeah, the good old sports almanac. I felt it was appropriate to bring out for this.
Dang, that's awesome, dude. And then once he comes back to the 1985, and you can tell he's like in pain, and somebody told me that it was because he's fading away because his reality is fading away. Is that correct?
He just messed up. Well, he didn't mess it up, I guess, but he changed his entire life around, so he kind of just, I guess, would fade off somewhere.
Oh, that's why. Okay, so it's true then what they said. Now, would you use Tyler Calvert use Sports Almanac for your own benefit?
I mean, I think most people would to some degree.
And I wouldn't blame them.
Probably to that extent because it would just be too obvious. Like I remember in the movie they were saying like he bet and got like every single horse race like correct, and it's like the odds of that is astronomical.
And I think my criticism for Biff Tanner is like, dude, don't make it too obvious. Like you said, he just made it too obvious. He kept winning every week. I was like, really?
In the world or whatever they called him. And then he used all of his money to like go become like a business tycoon and buy it and do like nuclear power or whatever. And then he owns like hotels and stuff like that.
And he owns the police, apparently.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I own the police. It doesn't matter if I kill people because they never caught me because I killed George McFly with the same gun.
I read that Biff Tanner in this alternate 1985 timeline is inspired by Donald Trump of that era.
I could see it. I mean, I could see that even back when I was younger, before presidents, his presidential aspirations and all that. Just when he was just like a business tycoon kind of guy, I was like, oh yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
personality, the big, larger than life personality that he is. So I could see the parallels and similarities.
Yeah, only think about himself. But that's for another topic for another time. Now,
Yeah.
the thing is with Biff Tanner giving him a bigger role in this one is it's such an interesting decision. Especially we see how the alternate timeline of 1985, how he marries Lorraine, and oh man, and his goons are so hilarious as well. I love his sideburns, and the guy who
Oh,
plays Biff is just amazing, dude. I love that guy.
yeah, he's definitely living the lavish lifestyle in Ultimate 1985, and I guess like through all of his business ventures and all that, he just like turned the entire town to garbage. It turned into like Mad Max like land when like people were just like doing drive-bys and have bars on the wall like on their doors and like it turned into like the Purge. Like, I don't know why like him becoming like a multi-millionaire billionaire turned like I guess he just ruined the entire town, but he's okay at least.
He's in his casino, top high rise.
Yeah, yeah, he's good at least. Everybody else it seems like not so much.
And then, of course, after that on, the whole movie plot turns into like, oh, we gotta get the almanac from Biff. They go back to 1955, and
Yeah,
it's so intense because it goes back and forth who gets the upper hand on the sports almanac. Sometimes Marty gets it, and then Biff gets it again, and then Marty gets it again, and Biff, I was like,
yeah,
oh my god.
it was clever the way they did that because they planted the seed early on when first gets the almanac about the cover,
Yes.
like the little, forget what they call it, but the front cover you can pull off of the book.
Yeah, with the ooh la la, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they, cause you think, oh, yeah, okay, if you thought it was a throwaway kind of thing, and then he thinks he gets it away, and then it's actually just the cover on a dirty magazine.
It's so smart. It's so smart. It plays with your expectations. It's like, yes, the movie's gonna be over because Marty gets it now. It's like, no, it's not over yet.
Yeah, and then as he's talking on the phone, well, on the radio with Doc, then you see in the background, oh, that's how he's gonna get it. He's gonna go run over after George knocks him out. And he's gonna take it and just run away. Like, I think that guy stole his wallet.
He keeps talking about wallet. That guy is so funny. Yeah, it's just that
That's all that. I think he stole that guy's wallet.
every time that you think it's gonna be easy, they make it hard. It's like, oh no, it's not gonna be that easy. You're not gonna get that reward yet, audience. The almanac's gonna be.
Later on, when they're in, like, they have like their own like car chase, hoverboard chase, where like he's hanging off the vehicle trying to hide and stealthily open the door so he can grab it. And then they have the big chase down the tunnel and all that. It's crazy. And then the only way he gets away is because they throw down the little like wire and he has to go up.
Yes. With the DeLorean, right?
Yeah, because Doc is just chilling in the air, waiting. It's like perfect timing. Like most of the time, there's some type of conflict. It's always like Doc is there to save the day at the appropriate moment. Between that and then when Biff has him cornered on the rooftop, and he goes to the edge, and of course he comes back up and he's on top of the DeLorean. So it's like every time, it's like perfect timing. He's always there.
You know what I would call that though? The giant eagles at the end of the Hobbit movie.
Yeah, those movies have their own issues.
right on the edge of the cliff, they're about to die, and then the eagles swoop in and help them out.
Well, the age old thing where it's like, why didn't they just fly that thing all the way forward
Exactly.
instead of walking the whole way for 3 movies? But oh well.
Freaking storytelling, man.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of timelines here, right? So there's 1985, there's 2015, and then 55, and then it ends with the Old West in 1888. Wow, so you got to keep up with all those timelines. I know that 4 years ago we celebrated October 21st,
Yeah,
2015. How'd you do it? Did you celebrate it in a way?
Yeah, because I just rewatched both the first and the second one. I've never been a really big fan of the third part of Back to the Future trilogy.
Me neither.
I'm not a big Western guy. Like, if you ever noticed on my channel, I don't talk about Westerns at all. It just never have appealed to me. Because I mean, I like it.
You're a hater.
I like a couple the big ones like the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and the
Mm,
Magnificent Seven. I like Seven Samurai, which is based on.
mm.
But like, it's just never appealed to me as a genre. So it's just always been like the third part has not been that it doesn't hit me as much as the first two parts. Although looking back, especially rewatching it, it was cool seeing the seeds that were planted in this one to kind of like allude to, hey, we're gonna go to the Wild West. And the next one between like seeing the little clips of Biff's relatives, like like the Wild West one, they showed in the little clip of his history with like like it's like Wild Biff or whatever the heck it was, and
I forget.
yeah, and he was talking about like he always wanted to, and Doc's talking about always wanting to visit the Wild West and all this crazy stuff. Like, oh, okay, and then the Wild West themed video game. So it's definitely a well crafted screenplay where you can tell where they're
Mm.
planting the seeds. Then it makes sense later on.
That's true. It's like a like Easter egg, sort of like a teaser.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and then because it's weird because then you because at the end when Doc vanishes and then he's stuck in 1955, Marty is, and then he gets that letter from that guy that they've been holding it for 70 something years.
70 years.
It's like that's weird. Why would this kid that's not alive at all? Why would you write a letter to this kid and then 70 years later have it delivered to him?
And the fact that they actually preserve it for 70 years.
Yeah,
Damn.
it was like late 1800s, so you never know
Yeah,
what they're.
but it's not like the letter was written by a president or somebody, honored.
Uh,
It's like just a Doc Brown, some regular guy, and they
Scientists,
preserve it. It's like we gotta preserve it.
why not? Let's just see if it actually is true, because that's what they were trying. The guy lost the bet because he didn't know if there was actually going to be a Marty McFly that you have to deliver this letter to on this very day at this very moment in time.
That's right. He lost the bet. Now, 4 years ago, October 21st, 2015, what I regretted not doing, I think I was working that day or that evening, but of course the theater has a big old, Back to the Future screening.
Of course.
It wasn't free, of course, but still, I would have loved to hang out with the other BTTF fan that evening, but I didn't get to go. But I noticed my friend, who is the biggest BTTF fan. They had this. Apparently, he went to this huge gathering at the mall parking lot. The parking lot where they
Oh,
unleashed the.
what movie, The Twin Pines,
Yeah, the Twin Pines Mall.
or the what, or is it like this? Isn't it like One Pine because they knock over that one pine tree?
Oh, I
'Cause they,
forget. I forget. Is it two? I
I
don't
remember
remember.
it was called Twin Pines, and then they run over the one tree, and then when they go back, it's like one pine
Oh,
because they changed history.
I forget what the fact was on that one. Is it still one pine or two Twin Pines? But they were like in the mall parking lot, and they're just celebrating that whole thing when they discover time machine, the Marty McFly and Doc Brown, and I was like, oh, I missed out. I missed out. So now we gotta wait for the I don't know the 30th, 35th, whatever of
Or maybe
the
something
first
for
movie.
it. I'm more likely to celebrate this one than the Wild West one in part
That's
three.
right. This is considered to be one of the best sequels ever made, along with Die Hard 2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Some of those few sequels that were
Empire Strikes.
actually good. Not a lot of those sequels are actually good out there, and this one's one of the decent ones.
Yeah, it's one of those rare cases. I mean, I could think of a lot of good sequels, but like you said, like those, and like I said, Empire Strikes Back,
Ah,
Aliens, Toy Story 2, I guess technically. But like
yes.
there's a lot of the Spider-Man 2, but this is definitely one of the better sci-fi at least themed
Yeah,
sequels.
you gotta make it clear, not the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but
No,
Spider-Man 2, Sam
I,
Raimi.
I actually watched the first Amazing Spider-Man not that long ago because I did a ranking for the Spider-Man movies, so that was quite a chore to watch. Yeah,
I'm sorry you had to go through that, my friend.
yeah, the things you do for your channel.
And also another thing that they did 4 years ago, as I remember, and you probably remember it too, USA Today released their version of the mock, that you see in the movie of
Yeah,
Marty McFly got arrested. I I didn't keep that one. I should have kept the copy. I lost
yeah.
it.
That now that you mention it.
Now, do you, my friend Tyler, you are a collector. I'm not a collector, as you can see, nothing's in the background. Uh, but do you have Back to the Future Steelbook, trilogy editor's
I
edition?
actually don't. That was the thing that surprised me. Like I
Oh.
actually watched it on demand yesterday because I was like, oh well, I actually don't own it. That's weird. I should. I'm a bad movie fan, or not bad,
Bad movie
but
fan.
I'm definitely gonna get it eventually. 'Cause I have a lot of movies, as you can tell,
Yes.
if I just move out of frame. But out of all those, I for some reason never had Back to the Future. So I have
Wow. So you don't have Back to the Future trilogy yet?
no.
Wow.
I have Amazing Spider-Man too, though.
Steelbook, Steelbook.
Yeah, actually.
Another fun fact for our viewers, since I'm a big fan of Red Hot Chili Peppers, the bassist
Yeah.
Flea shows up as Needles, and for a few
Yeah,
seconds.
it's interesting how he's actually had quite a career in acting.
That's right.
Because he's in a lot of things. Like I think the last thing I remember him being in was Baby Driver
That's right. And
a
no,
couple
no,
years.
he was also in Boy Erased.
Oh yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
he was one of
But
the
yeah,
guys.
like Boy Race, he's still consistently in movies, which is always interesting to me to see when he pops up. But that was always an interesting little tidbit. Like oh, it's Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Future Part Two is the future Marty's like coworker before he gets fired.
And what's fun is that I googled, and apparently Flea years later called the movie a multi-million-dollar piece of trash. Apparently, he's not too big a fan of part
I mean,
two.
and it's not like it's his fault. I mean, I don't agree with that, but it's not like It's not like it's his fault. He wasn't in the movie for very long.
Yeah, probably he wanted a bigger role. He didn't get
Maybe.
it. uh,
Uh,
another fun fact, and to go along with what you said about to be continued, and I read this. I don't know if this is true, but that scene where Doc Brown meets Doc Brown from 1955 and hands him the wrench. Remember that? And
yeah.
apparently, in the first movie they said that there's a scene you can see in the distance some guy wearing a hat, approaching Doc Brown.
I remember hearing about that because I remember they tried to debunk it because they're like, oh well, that couldn't have. It was just a coincidence. Because, they hadn't even written the script for the second one yet. It was just a really funny coincidence.
Dude, could you imagine though? It's like the mind blowing part if it was actually
That's like
wow.
Shyamalan kind of twist. Kind of, oh, we're gonna throw this in there. You'll notice it later on though.
Supernatural shit, man. That would be like, whoa, sends chills down my spine. Now,
Yeah.
uh, I my favorite scene. If you ask me what is my favorite scene of the entire film, there's a lot. Of course, we talked about Power Laces. That's one of my favorite scene. The thing is, it's none of the scenes of my favorite in part two stand out as much as part one. My favorite scene in part one is when and George McFly punches Biff in the face, and in this one we see it a little bit, but it's like from the distance. So I think my favorite part, if you ask me, of the whole part two is whatever takes place in the future in 2015. I
Yeah.
wasn't too
Cool.
big a fan of the alternate 1985, and now when it comes back to 1955, I was like, oh, it's another round of this. It's like we've already seen this. That's how I
Yeah.
felt.
Kind of cool though when they went back to 1955 and you saw like a different perspective of the same scenes you watched from the first film,
I guess so.
where you see like in the distance how the scenes played out from a different angle while Marty's spying on Biff or his mom and Biff and all them, or in the scenes at the dance at the end, and you get to see from the distance. The current Marty has to save the Marty that's in 1955 while he's on stage from getting beat up.
That's true. That's true.
But that's my favorite scene actually from the first film when he's up on stage playing "Go Johnny Go" and all and Will Johnny Be Good and all that.
That's your favorite scene from the first movie?
Yeah, it was cool seeing it from a different perspective in part two. I think part two, my favorite scene probably is some of the future stuff with like the showdown between future Biff and our present day Marty on like stuff with the hoverboard and all that stuff.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think that's a good way to kind of end our conversation here. Let's talk about, the fact that at least for me, I'm relieved a little bit that 2015 did not look anything like like 2015 in Back to the Future Part Two
Oh,
because
you want like Jaws 19? You didn't want to see Jaws
no, I don't like Jaws 19. And you know
We got
those people wear weird clothes, man. I don't want to wear weird clothes.
yeah. So the style choices were pretty bizarre in the future 2015, according to them, anyways.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be able
Neon,
to rock it.
yeah, like neon, like multicolored, weird clothes with a bunch of pockets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd get punched by a jock if you
And
walk
like
around in that.
like the helmets and stuff that Biff wears, like in the 3D glasses and stuff like that. It was out there. I gotta say that they thought they went all out with that stuff. Although there are some gadgets I would have definitely liked that they if they had made in this day and age,
Like what?
like like in Marty's house when they have the rehydrator where they put in a little teeny pizza and then they put it in the rehydrator, the Black and Decker rehydrator, mind you, because there was a lot of different product placements I noticed when I rewatched it. And then it comes out as just giant pizza.
Oh, wait, wasn't that just like a futuristic oven sort of deal?
Yeah, it was basically just a futuristic oven, but like it was you put like a tiny dehydrated little pizza in there, and then you hit the button, and then like it comes out, and it's just a big pizza.
That's all it
It's
does.
like
I,
that would come in handy. I love that.
well, I do like the Pepsi, the way the Pepsi
Yeah,
looks. I like
yeah,
that. It's huge and it looks so cool. I would love that kind of futuristic stuff. But the rest,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the whole thing with him ordering with like a VR glasses on, and then he orders the fruit to come from the top. You know, the grapes come down from the top. I was like, that's not too high tech. I'm not impressed by that.
That one is in the rehydrator with the pizzas and all that. That's the cool one.
The hydrator, got it. And then what is up with the two people riding bicycles inside the diner? I don't get that. Is that like an
Oh
'80s?
yeah,
Is it a retro
yeah.
thing?
That was a bit weird. I don't know if that was that either.
How is that like futuristic? I don't get that at all.
Well, at
Um,
least words and the flying cars because like you could buy flying cars in the 2015 that they went to.
yes.
That
Um,
would these days because it would just be like screw traffic. I'm out of here.
Although I gotta be honest with you, Tyler, I would prefer, as far as cars and traffic goes, I would prefer how they did it in Minority Report. Remember that with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, I mean that'd be cool. There's a couple things I would like from the future time as far as like Minority Report goes. I wouldn't like the whole concept of me getting arrested for something I hadn't done yet, but as far as the future things go with Minority Report, what I would definitely like the stuff with the car. Whole being arrested before I do a crime that I haven't done yet. That part I would leave behind.
Although I would love to have that skill that Samantha Morton had in Minority Report, so then I could foresee if YouTube's gonna slap me with another copyright infringement. I can be like, okay, probably should.
Yeah, I would like to know ahead of time before certain companies would give me a copyright claim and I gotta fight it and all that. Give me the heads up. You gotta claim it now. Just give me like a week. Just let me know.
That's YouTubers inside jokes for you guys.
Yeah, copyright claim, no joke.
So let me ask you this: as we close and we're about to rock it with the U.S. women's team at the Finals World Cup, I want to ask you, yeah, USA, USA.
Yeah, can't wait.
um, so what do you think? What do you think makes this movie so beloved after all 30 years that it has lasted this long? Because in my opinion, I'll share what mine. It's such a fun film, and we've come across rules in cinema about time traveling, like, oh, you should not meet your old self, or you should not meet your future self. And so the way Back to the Future Part Two plays that out, it's so interesting and exciting, and it's like, oh, it gets you on your toes, like, oh my God, he's about to see his old self. and,
Well, it's like what's Marty's girlfriend, and they pass each other in the doorway, and they're like, "I'm old," and they just pass out.
exactly. Uh, so that's kind of the thing that makes this movie so exciting, of course, and also the imagination of what happens if you alter your past, and what happens to your future or present time. So that and it's just exciting. There's not a boring minute. It's just so much fun all the way through. That's what makes it, I think, one of the best sequels ever made. Do you agree?
Yeah, I pretty much would say the exact same thing. The only thing I would just add on to it, as especially for it being such, back in the '80s, like late '80s. I mean, it was ahead of its time with its visual effects. Of course, it doesn't all hold up as well 30 plus years
Ah,
later,
that's
but
right.
for the most part, it's still pretty great. I mean, it did get nominated for Best Visual Effects and Academy Awards that year, although it lost to James Cameron's The Abyss. But I mean, if you look at The Abyss, I mean that's especially the scene with the big water monster
Hmm.
changing faces and all that. Like that still looks great now, and that was 30 years ago too. So I mean, you can't beat James Cameron, I guess, when it comes to visual effects. Even back then, 30 years ago. But in other many other aspects, it was still really great. Really great sci-fi film. Plus, I think just the characters themselves are really fun. I mean, I think many people relate to Marty McFly in some way, whether they be a hothead or they're just dealing with crazy problems. Because I know for myself, I felt like kind of a hothead sometimes. Although, so I'm not to that degree where it's like if you call me a chicken, I gotta fight you. But I've always liked the dynamic between him and Doc Brown.
What word triggers you if not chicken?
I don't know. I mean, copyright claims.
YouTube flag.
Yeah, copyright. Yeah, when I get that email with the parentheses copyright claim, that's what triggers me these days.
But thank you for. I want to talk just a little briefly before we end. You're right because, like, for example, specifically the scene nearing the end, Biff and Marty McFly on his hoverboard, hanging by the side of Biff's car. High speed chase. That thing, the way they keep editing back to his feet, flying hoverboard, back to a wide angle to see them. It just the editing part of it. It kind of after rewatching it again last night, I was like, it makes me a little dizzy how they keep,
Yeah,
go from one cut to the next. There's like to keep reminding you, oh yeah, look, the skateboard doesn't have wheels. They keep reminding you that. It's like, oh,
yeah. Hey, don't. You have to suspend your disbelief a little bit because of the whole. Well, I guess there you also got to think like, how the heck is he still staying on that hoverboard?
yes, exactly.
Because I guess you just get stuck onto it, and then like you're fine because he goes through a lot, between like swinging around and like he's like Biff's doing these wide Fast and the Furious style turns, trying to get him off the vehicle,
Yes, and
still
he did,
staying on the side of the vehicle, like punching him and stuff.
and Marty does a cartwheel at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I was saying, I don't know how that. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because it's suspend your disbelief, but it's just like how strong is this hoverboard?
So definitely visual effects wise, especially the DeLorean flying, it does look outdated now when you watch the movie again. It just but I think you would agree with me that despite that, that Back to the Future trilogy should never ever be rebooted. Um,
That's the thing. Like, I agree, but I still feel like it's going to at some point eventually. I feel like
Hollywood,
eventually they'll probably give it some type of reboot with some younger actor that I don't want to see in the role of Marty McFly. It'll be like some annoying. It'll probably be like I don't know. They'll probably make like The Rock, Doc Brown, or something stupid like that. It'll be like he's the new scientist because it's like The Rock's in everything these days. So why not
of course,
put the role of the Doc Brown character, even if they don't call him Doc Brown.
a buff Doc Brown.
Why not? Make it just weird. He's a buff scientist. And he doesn't have hair.
You know what will be a poetic justice though if in the future when they rebooted this that Eric Stoltz's grandson plays Marty McFly.
That'd be cool. Or you can get what's her face, Zoe Dutch. She could be the new version because her mom was Leia Thompson.
Yes, that's right.
Just do the whole new generation version, just with the actors kill children.
We should totally make a video about casting Back to the Future reboot.
Fantastic, the reboot for Back to the Future.
Buff Doc Brown. Oh, I'm so in. Tyler, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation, brother. I appreciate you taking the time in this Sunday early ungodly hour.
Yeah, early, but it is what it is.
And now we gotta go see the U.S. women rocket, and of course, hopefully in time of the Mulan trailer. And to all of you guys out there, Tyler, do the plug. Where can they find you and follow you and subscribe to you?
YouTube's pretty easy. If you just search my name in YouTube, I'm the first result. But anywhere else, Instagram, it's Tyler Calvert 23, and Twitter is Tyler_Calvert 23. So I'm pretty easy to find when it comes to social media.
All right, Tyler is one of the best movie reviewers out there online, you guys. So follow him and subscribe to his channel. Till the next collabo, let's rock this.